Hi guys, welcome to the Pimp My Shack DIY series. Today we're creating a beautiful headboard that's going to match the pedestal that we created in the last DIY. So in a bit, I'll take you through everything that you'll need for this DIY. So for this DIY, you will need the paint color of your choice. I've got this beautiful charcoal gray color here, as well as the blush pink. Tan, tan, tan. And then a spirit level. This is so that I can guide my masking tape to create the color contrast. You also need the pink primer. So I've already primed the headboard and edged it off. Then you will need a jigsaw and some power, some paint brushes, and something that you would use to create the rounded edge on the one side, and you will see where this baby comes into play. So let's get into it. As you can see, my board is currently primed and nicely dry. It took at least 2 hours to dry, but generally you want to keep it for 4 hours. So I have, where's the curve? I have cut the curve, as you can see, and this was so that hold on. so that it just complements the pedestal that we created in the previous DIY. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to paint it in the two tones. So you will need your masking tape, your spirit level, as well as your writing tool in order for you to create a design that kind of makes the two be in the perfect union. And by the two, I mean the pedestal as well as the headboard that we're about to create. So let's get into it. I need high heels for some of these things, I swear. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is get my stuff in there. And so what I will do is I'm going to make a nice straight line because I want to create like a contrast between the blush pink and the charcoal. So I'll use the masking tape to create that perfect line. And then, so a little bit of blush pink and a whole lot of the charcoal gray, because that's exactly the same thing or the same ratio that we did with the pedestal in the previous DIY. So with the masking tape, it depends. You can go for a thicker size. I'm using this size just to maintain consistency. And the idea really, now I want to do a freehand. Give me a second. All right, so the spirit level is just to help me get a straight line so that my stuff is not skew. And I want to paint the top part blush pink. I want to paint the top part blush pink. I'm just gonna make sure this guy is waterpas. If you don't have a spirit level, what you can do is you can use a measuring tape, and you can just measure the length from each end and just make a little marking, and then you can take a ruler to get that straight line through. So this is not actually writing on it. He is in waterpas. Yes, darling. So now that I've got my line, I will then use my whatchamacallit? I will use my masking tape to just trace. So what I'm doing right now, I'm putting the masking tape on the side where I'm going to do the blush pink. And the reason for that is, and I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna go over it with the blush pink, and so that if the charcoal bleeds, I would still have a perfect line, because this is the little hack or trick that I use even when I paint walls. So if you want the perfect straight line, is you want to first go over it with the color that's going to be on the opposite side, and then if the main color that you want to contrast with bleeds, then you still have, you know, the straight line of the lighter color. I'm just gonna use my pink, and I'll use the lid as a tray, actually, and put a very thin layer over first. All right, just over the masking tape, a thin layer. And this is so that when I come and paint the charcoal over it, it does not bleed. Oh, see, the masking tape lifted here. All right. All right. So just a very thin layer of the blush pink. Get all of that in. Boom. All right. Now it's time for the charcoal. But whilst this is drying, I'm gonna start on that side just so that the two does not blend. Thank you, kindly. You know, I used to play netball, right? Just that's how I managed to catch the paintbrush, just FYI, you know. Okay, all right, let's do this. So this charcoal is just beautiful, deep gray. Ooh, yes. There's nothing like a perfect color to make this work. I think charcoal and blush pink is a match made in heaven. So again, I'm using the lid as my paint tray just so that there's no drips. So you just want to cut the corners off first so that you can just get them edged off nicely. Get those corners in. All right. Make sure to use your left hand. It's the only way this will work. All right. And I think because of the primer, the color is catching on nicely. We're not struggling, because without the primer, I would have had to layer this quite a bit. But now it's doing the thing that it should do. I'm not painting over the blush pink yet, just letting that dry properly. Getting those corners in, edges, I mean. Is it corners or edges? I don't even know what the difference is. But y'all know what I mean, right? Now we play with the middle. I think what will go faster, especially in the middle part here, is a rollquas, like a roller, the small one. I think that will go pretty fast. But in the absence of that, you can always use like a 75mm paintbrush. That should also get coverage quite fast. So the key with painting, especially wood, is like you don't want your layers to be too thick, otherwise it will take Jesus years to dry. So you want just to apply thin layer, and here I intend on putting on 2 coats. So the first coat, really nice, thin, evenly put on, and then once it has dried, so you want to, depending on the type of paint you use, normally it will be written how long you need to wait in between coats. Generally, it's about 4 hours. But you can always put this like in front of a fan, you know, and let it dry really fast, you know. Or you can take a box and DIY it to dry faster. That's also an option. All right. First coat of the charcoal is done. We're gonna wait for this to dry. Give it like 2 or 3 hours, depending, and then put on the second coat. Just make sure that the charcoal is on there pretty nice and solid. And then what we're gonna do is we'll take off the masking tape and put the tape over the gray, and then we will paint the blush pink on the edge, and you will see how beautifully that line is gonna lie there to create the contrast between the blush pink and the gray. But if you want to see how this baby is gonna look like when it's done, be sure to watch the reveal of Project Torah, Headboard and Bedside Table Match Made in Heaven edition. So until then, I've got 3 hours to wait. Yeah, see you then.